Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel. It's Perry here, and tonight I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're going to jump into lighting, and the ideas of where I'm headed with lighting are more from a natural standpoint. And as I'm learning more about plants and gardening and the soil and the microbial life, it's helped me to propel sort of my knowledge in reefing to a different level and a different understanding. And as I'm starting to delve further into it, I'm now having different ideas in my head about lighting. And as I'm starting to really focus on energy in the home here, I've been making lots of efforts to sort of decrease unnecessary things. And so I want to show you living proof of what I'm doing with this reef right here. And some might think it's a little bit insane to take all these beautiful corals and try all these different concepts, but this is what it's really all about. It's about pushing the envelope. It's about trying to educate myself, working with the channel here to share some of the experiences I've gained along the way. That's what this is really all about. So again, a grassroots channel, starting out with you guys, helping me to try to want to learn more and more and more. So as I do, I sort of take in that information, that knowledge, and that experience, that I'm sort of gaining about gardening and the soil. And I take about the experience of growing up in the state of Florida, all right, and being a Floridian, a true Floridian native to Daytona Beach area. I was born and raised in Daytona Beach, right? And I grew up on the beach. I grew up surfing from a very young age. And we happen to be on the East Coast. And so when you're surfing on the East Coast, you're looking out into the sun in the mornings, right? So when you go out for a surf in the morning with your boys and you do a dawn patrol, no one really puts on sunscreen. If they do, they put it on their face, right, to kind of block the sun as it's coming up. But you'll know that as the sun's coming up, until it really hits around 10 in the morning, does it really start getting dangerous, here in the state of Florida, right? So with that in mind, we're going to get into sun angles, and we're going to get into photo periods today. And I kind of want to share with you something that was on my mind. So sort of like surfing brought this idea to me, right? So you're waking up in the morning, right? And I want to kind of show you from this angle. So we're waking up in the morning, right? And you're out here on the water, you're looking for sets rolling in and waves rolling in, and so the sun's in your face, right? And so it's hitting your front torso, right? Because I'm on the East Coast and the sun's coming up in the east, and so you're facing due east, right? And so here's the angle, right? And until you really get to here, about 10 in the morning, is it really starting to get to that point where I think it's critical that you have the sunblock on, right? And so equally opposite, if we sort of flip around and we come over here to like 5 o'clock, right? So like in that 10 and 5 o'clock range, do you really need that sunscreen? So do you really need the sunscreen if you paddle out for an evening surf? Not really, especially with your back. Now you're facing east, your back's facing, the west where the sun's coming down. Right? And so, yeah, your back's just getting lit, and, you're getting a little sun on your back, which is nice. It's warm. It feels good. But it's not a danger because it's after 5 and the sun, begins its fade, right? And it fades on down, and then that's the day. And so, when we get into, the aspects of being a surfer and what that means from sunscreen, it's really important. So if you're out there in this period, right? This period of the day, shit, man, you better have sunblock on. You better really, really, put it on your face, put it on your back, any part of your body. If you're wearing a rash guard, you definitely want to put it on your arms, and on your neck and on your back, on your face. You want to double up, and it's because you're in this critical period, right? So we get back to the light. So now you're in this critical period, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., right? And so what I'm doing is I'm starting to work these T5s. They come on for 5 hours only. These Orphec bars are on now only for 6 hours, okay? So, and then the reef breeders, I'm putting a heavy punch, a 5-hour window where pretty much my intense part of the reef breeders is on. So for 5 hours, we got all lights on. I've got a little bit of a fade in the Orphex, only 1 additional hour, right? And then in the center here, this is going from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so a 12-hour sort of deal, right? 8 a.m., 8 p.m. Sun's coming up, it's up, 8 p.m., right? So if you know about plants, right, and they can only receive so much energy in a given period of day. In fact, if they get too much, they start wilting, which means they're exhausted. They said, I've had enough, dude, too much, right? Now some plants can take it, especially plants that are native to like Florida, where they're getting a lot of intensity, right? We're near the equator, so our days are going to be a little bit different. But when we talk about that photo period, right, this is that time of day, right? Where right here to right here is where I would focus. And should the white lights be on? Absolutely. I won't back off that stance. Why do I like T5s? I'll tell you why I like T5s. Because the T5s spread the light. They help to blend the spectrums. They help to blend the blues and then the whites off of the LED as well as the other spectrums. It helps to blend it and fill all those missing gaps and the shadows that might be created by the point source of LEDs. LED is really killer, and it's come a long way. But I still will not back off of T5s. T5s, if you were to grow, which I grow microgreens sometimes. So sometimes I'll fire up a T5 with a 6500K bulb, and I'll just run one strip, and I'll do a run of microgreens underneath it, and then things can go like damn near to the bulb before it's a problem. And same thing with the T5s. You can damn near touch the water. I've had mine within 4 inches of the water before, and corals 4 inches from the top, 8 inches, no problems at all. So they can take the T5 all day long. It's a nice, very blended, calm light source. Again, it's hard to really burn anything up. So I have to have T5s. I'm a very big T5 guy, and it really took a lot for me to come to LEDs, and I'm glad I did. But I still think there is value of having them in your system to some degree, if you can work them in. If you can't, LEDs are just fine. You can make it work. You just might need more of them, right? Okay, but anyway, having a nice spread, having the Balmy completely covered by light, and again, coming back to this angle, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., I'm building a 5-hour window of intensity. That 5-hour window hits the reef really hard, and then the Orphex go off, the T5s go off, so now the reef breeder is the only light source. And so from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., I have now also changed that ramp to only royal blues and at a very low intensity. And the reason why is because I really don't think, if you think about the sun angle, how much light could they really be receiving at this angle? Now look, you can see for yourself, and at this angle, right? So are these corals being fully lit? All right, well, let's do it this way. Now look at the back corals. Are they being fully lit? No. They're blocked out. They're not getting lit at all. Okay? So you can really see it this way. And so we'll do it this way. So, here's your peak. This is where you want to be as the sun sort of rolls around. But when it gets to a certain point, look, you can see for yourself what's happening. Right? And then that's it. So it would be kind of like this. And then it would do the same and sort of close down on the other side. Oh, shoot, got that. Look at me, about to electrocute myself. So yeah, maybe it's better to go this way. But again, you can see what I'm talking about. Not to be redundant, but the point really is I think there's a lot more to this thing about coral reefing, and to try to blast these corals all day long for more than 4 to 5 hours of that peak intensity, I think is probably is more than is necessary. Okay. Now there are probably places where it would be valuable, in a frag system, if you're really trying to grow corals, because you're trying to, you have a business of selling coral. I get it, totally. You might have to change that photo period, right, and have a longer photo period or more intense, longer photo period. And at that point, you're growing coral, right? That's a whole different scenario. Me, I've kind of moved away from that, and I only, like my smoothies, I make them available every 6 months, a couple cuts, and that's it. And if you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. I'm not really into it. It's a hassle. Cutting corals and selling corals to me is a hassle. I do it, obviously for my local fellow friends and things of that nature, but is it something I'm really excited about doing? No, not really. I'm not excited about trimming corals, I'll be frank with you. And I'm not really excited about trying to push heavy growth either. So for me, and I think about electricity, I think about the power, right? I think about the AC running, and I think about the cooling of the tank. It makes a lot of sense. And so when I look at the big picture, what do they really need? For me personally, and what I'm starting to understand about plants, how much photosynthesis they actually can take in a given day. And then I think about the same part of the coral, and then I think about the dark photo period and how much more valuable that is actually in the plant kingdom than the photosynthetic period. And then I started thinking about, well, these are sort of a hybrid, right? It's an animal and a plant built into one. And so does the animal side benefit more by having a longer, darker period, or a period where they can then nocturnally feed, right? And do they really, does the whole system, the system as a whole, does it need intense lighting outside of that 5-hour window? Or does it just need to be mimicked of that soft ramping by the natural sun up into that 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. range? And again, these are just rough estimates, and I'm going based on, growing up in Florida, surfing since I was a kid, and understanding the way the sun and angles work, understanding the way, plants work and gardening, and then actually snorkeling in the reef of the Keys, and growing up, going to the Keys every summer. I mean, these are all things that, all these things are kind of coming back, and it's helping me to have a firmer idea of where I'm headed in my journey. And for me, I find it unnecessary to have anything more than just a maybe 20% blue on either side, very softly on the reef breeder. So I don't think the Orphex are necessary. I think it's just overkill. And I think the T5s certainly are overkill outside of that 5-hour period. So, excuse me. So for me, I'm finding that less is actually more. And you may find that less can be more for you too in your reefing journey. So how does that all work? Not sure. I'll probably be able to give you a little bit more data, but I have slowly been doing this over the course of a few months. And so far, I haven't seen anything that leads me to believe that a decreased intensity of photosynthesis, or the photo period, if you will, is doing anything to harm the corals. In fact, I truly believe that I'm seeing more good things as a result. I'm seeing algae sort of on the decline because it's not getting that extended photo period and that intensity to grow. So glass algae is calmed. I'm not brushing as often, which is kind of cool. I would imagine I'll see a downturn in nutrients pretty soon as certain algae begin to fade because they're just not getting enough light. I suspect I'll probably see a downward trend as far as what my nitrates and phosphates are when I decide to test. I'm going to see a benefit on the power bill. I could see a benefit on my alkaline calcium consumption, outside of what the crushed coral is helping, with that. So are there ways that, we can reduce energy a little bit and not throw so much at these corals? And, do they really, are they benefiting? I really don't know. Again, I'm just going to share with you sort of it's not really an experiment, the test that I'm doing, with lighting. I'll share with you what happens if I start losing corals, or if I start seeing something bad happening, or them downturning as far as color is concerned. I'm not going to be afraid to report that back. Some corals, like I said up front here, are not liking being up front because I believe that it's just too much flow. And so I've kind of corrected that, but a couple corals got pissed and I've lost a few. It happens, and I'm not going to be afraid to share with you like the downsides of this hobby as well as the upsides. It would be unfair for me to sit here and make this always look perfect because it's anything but. Hopefully what I've learned in my experience is, and not to get too far off track, but hopefully for me, what I've learned is I no longer have like knee-jerk reactions to things like I used to. And I sort of slow things down. I've sort of kind of look at this as way more parts than just the coral, and as I have, it's allowed me the freedom in my mind to not worry about the result of a test kit, to not worry about the pressure of the industry to say that you should have this or that this device is needed in order to be successful. I want to showcase, if this is perceived by you guys, the guys that actually mean something to me, if this is perceived as being successful to you, then hopefully what I can do is I can show you an alternative way of getting there. Because for many, they feel that if they don't follow sort of what the industry is saying and don't, sort of buy the equipment and the brands and the things that are quote unquote needed, that they're not going to be able to find success in the hobby. And I would tell you, if you don't find the internet, you probably are more likely to find success. And I say that with a grain of salt because otherwise you wouldn't be here right now. So I'm just trying to show you a different path, nothing more. For lighting, I hope this offers a different perspective. If you're really, really good, go back to a guy named Bibbles, who's somebody who I greatly admired in this hobby. And he used to say, if it doesn't show under whites and doesn't color under a full white spectrum, it doesn't color. And I believe that to be true. And I believe that's why it is important to have that 6 hour period for intensity. But after that is what I'm talking about. Do you need to stretch it out another hour here and another hour here to 7, 8, 9? Some people do. Or they have this curve, where all lights do that. I don't think you're going to benefit off the white spectrum outside of here. I don't think it would ever hit the reef the way you think it would. I think it turns blue by the time it gets to 3 or 4 feet deep. It's not going to be white anymore. It's going to be more bluish. It's going to be like a cool blue. And if you go 10, 15, 20 feet down, the deeper you go down, the more blue it's going to get, right? And that's just the way it is. So think about it. Outside of this little window right here, when you're in your 5 to 6 hour window, what I'm working on is reduction here and reduction here. I'm not reducing shit here. Shit, this is important right here. What I'm working on is here and softly allowing that to come down for the day. And I'll report back to you what the outshift is, if there is one. They may or may not. I don't really care about pH. I mean, I'm not gonna play that game. You all can go and run that course. I've already been there, done that, played around with Kalkwasser to do it, and to me, I don't think it's necessary at all. I still will go back to alkalinity. For me, it's far more important of a parameter to be concerned with, and to me, pH typically follows. Now, if you were to say add a window cracked, or you have less of a carbon footprint in your home, those are going to be definitely some cool things that will help. More airflow. There's tons of things you can do, like by removing the socks, that help tremendously. But not to get far off of that path. We can venture down that lane another day. But again, as it relates to lighting, I just wanted to offer a different perspective, and I appreciate you guys sticking around through it. I'm going to just share with you like this, what my friend Biggles used to say. This is, you can see a 6500K, and there you go. Now when you can see pink, you can see all the colors under 65. right? I'm getting a little close, but I'm just trying to show you. When you can see those colors, and look at the snails all over this. I don't know if they're coming through, but look at the amount of every night CRT concoction, right? Removing socks. Removing socks. Removing socks. Look at all the, I mean, that's what really gears me up these days for the hobby, is when I look in and I have a snail spawn every day. Got stomatellas showing up. That is a signature of life. I would love to show you a close-up one day of the amount of microstars. Anybody who ever lives in Central Florida and wants to inoculate their tank with some microstars, come over and dig out some of those and some bristleworms if you really want to see some cool stuff happen in your system. I'm also a big fan of those things too. So you saw the snails. I can see them on the side. I don't know if you can, but yeah, that's it. And it's been super fun. I appreciate all your support out there for following along. I hope you guys have a great evening, and yeah, we'll catch up soon.